Practice problem 1.2. We're going to read through the instructions on each of these, so pay particular attention to the units, millimeters, grams, and seconds. Not 10 minutes, okay, but we're more concerned about foundation material here, so there's going to be included instruction. If you want to take a speed run at it, give it a shot. The main thing is developing the core skills and the foundational elements to work through these. Parts origin located is indicated in red, so bottom left corner. And the part is asymmetric, so mainly the back is shifted. And all sketches are to be fully defined. That should be a really good habit you get used to. And then sketch lines, center lines, circles, we'll do the extruded boss. Both circular bosses are the same. So what I see, or what jumps out at me in this model, looking at the front view, is we can divide this into, let's just say, three bodies, or three features. To create the one body. So this main section, I'm not too concerned about the slot going through. We could include that in the sketch, or it could be a separate cut feature. It depends on kind of what our design intent, what the function is of that piece. Is it going to be easier later on to make adjustments, corrections, even possibly eliminate it if the design warrants it. So dimensions, we're going to be dealing with some angles. Not seeing anything too crazy, so we do want to pay attention to all of these. Keep in mind that this being an auxiliary view, their origin is kind of floating out in space, which sort of makes sense, but that might be a little bit confusing. So let's go ahead and get started. So I've loaded up the maker version. We're going to see the welcome to SolidWorks. If you want to use the defaults, part assembly and drawing, those are going to go back into the standard templates. And I have created, if you haven't watched the starting SolidWorks for the first time video, I create these part millimeter and part inch, and I designated them. If you're using the maker, keep in mind that the education and commercial will load into maker, but once they're saved, they're maker parts and they don't go back. So that is why I've separated those out. When I as an introduction and just kind of feeling out the differences with the maker, when I switch back to the education version, then there'll be some things that we point out on that side. But again, you don't need to sign in unless you are using the maker version or the online, and we'll have a couple of extra things over here on the task pane to deal with. All right, so when we set up our template, we are in, let's go back to the sketch. A couple of things, the instant 3D should be off, the instant 2D should be off. I'd like to have the origin highlighted. Again, blue is telling me that I'm ready to do something, but I haven't told it where or what yet. So let's go with the sketch, and then I will add in my preferred right click. So if we do a sketch and then pick on the front plane, well, we're verifying that it is highlighted. And as we move around, we would see that color shift from plane to plane. All right, so looking at this from that standpoint, I'm going to do the line command, and we'll move into more of the sketching tools as we go, but particularly at this point, I want you to pay attention to the on-screen icons, the relations, the inferred, the hey, you're there, but I'm not going to apply it. So the white background versus the yellow background. And we're pretty much going to draw this first shape and get it as close to fully defined as we can. Then we'll worry about the slot. Okay, so we're in the sketch. Horizontal is the short leg, vertical is the long leg. We go to the line command or L on the keyboard, and I'm looking for that little bit of a snap. When I get close to it and the origin highlights, I see that yellow box. That tells me that I'm going to get a coincident relation, and I clicked to place it, and our distance is about 78. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to get it to exactly 78, but close is okay. And then I don't really know what that one's going to be, so a click and a click, and we'll come back. And because of the angles, you have to be careful of picking a perpendicular. So I'm just going to accept and accept to back out of those. We could also hit escape on the keyboard. All right, so as I go through these, we have the vertical, we have the horizontal, and what I'm hoping not to see are any perpendiculars that were inferred while I was clicking through and not really paying attention. So we're going to go into the smart dimension, and our process is always going to be, well, stay away from the midpoint unless you really want the midpoint, but we're going to highlight that object, click on it, place the dimension, and that gives us the modify. So you have to set that dimension down somewhere for it to activate the modify box. We go into the 78. We have an overall to the tip of 58, so we're going to be looking at the base to the point. And then we have the 8 millimeters from the side. Now they're throwing a little bit of a loop at us with that that side geometry. So maybe I'm not ready to throw the areas at you, but it's something that we're going to utilize and you're going to have to get used to. So we'll go ahead with creating a couple more regions. So to build this out, I need the dimensions for this to kind of set the point of that angle, and these heights to determine where those items are coming up at. So that being the case, we're going to add in. Now, as a general rule, try not to create geometry on top of other geometry. Duplicate entities may cause the sketch to go underdefined. They're kind of a pain to diagnose. It's going to be in the not a good practice or not a best practice. All right, so there I got a midpoint. How do I deal with that midpoint that I didn't necessarily want, but I didn't catch it in time before I let go of the mouse button because I was doing the click drag? All right, so let's get out of that. And when I highlight that point, I'm going to see the midpoint box in the work area. And then I'm also going to see midpoint 2. I can highlight that and hit delete on the keyboard, or we can right click and hit delete. Be really careful with delete all. If we've applied a lot of relations to that one piece of geometry, then we probably don't want to delete all, because it does exactly what it says. Everything in that box goes away. All right, so let me undo that because my fingers were ahead of my mouth. I'm dragging this away, so a left click, hold down and drag, and I'm just looking for that to be coincident. If it's not particularly, we're not wanting to select, I can always select the endpoint and hold down the control button and select. So you will hear me talk about select, control, select quite often. The pop-up, the end context box that comes up has make coincident. If that goes away or we lose it, we can always come back over to the left and make it coincident. And then because it did not go horizontal, we're going to highlight that and then just illustrate we can go horizontal. All right, so let's see, that one, nope, that one goes, so I'm going to escape out of that. If I hit escape once, I'm still in the dimension tool. If I hit escape twice, I'm pretty sure it kicks me out of the tool, and we have to go back in. So we're looking for those gray, not gray items. So like, just for example, if I hit escape, the smart dimension up here goes from the active gray to the lighter. All right, so I need to get back into that, make it the dark gray, and then we're going to add the dimension there. And 18, and we have the 58. Oh, and then we're ready for an angle. So what makes a angular dimension? Any two non-parallel lines. All right, so if these were at right angles, we would see the 90 pop up, but as soon as I pick the two objects and apply the dimension, it's automatically going to be in degrees, and then that's going to give us our working angle. All right, so that goes to 24, and that one goes to 16, and because it should push out the geometry, then now I am looking for why this one isn't fully defined. So we have the 36 to the face. All right, so I need to, if I do my diagnostic tool, I know I saw another, or I think I saw another angle in here, or I hope I saw another angle. Oh, so the inference looking at this is that this is a perpendicular 90-degree angle. So since I did not infer that, we're going to do the select, control, select. Select the first object, hold down the control button, select the second object, and then there will be our perpendicular. We could have also added a dimension to it, but I think the relation does the same thing. So since we're using the multiple regions, and just by a quick definition, the outside shape is a contour, and the inside shapes are regions. So when we select geometry based on contours and regions, we're looking at the perimeter items versus the interior area items. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw the slot. We're looking for coincident. I get an inference that says perpendicular, and we're going to drag that out some distance. I drag it over. My yellow inference lines are highlighting against the little box that is giving me the perpendicular symbol. So if you're not familiar with those symbols, that's where kind of paying attention to the add relations as these are coming up. Watch out for that midpoint. I think I would still rather stay a little ways away from the midpoint since I'm pretty sure that wasn't it. And we can go, let's introduce another relation. And so I want to get out of the line commands, so I'm just going to hit escape on the keyboard, select, hold down the control button, select, and now we're looking for parallel. Or we can come over to the property manager and select parallel. All right, so our dimensions then become 36, and watch how the smart dimension handles this. If we come straight off, now they want the linear distance of that line. All right, so if we go straight out or straight down, we're going to get the vertical or the horizontal. We need to stay a little closer to the line and make sure that we get that linear distance. And then once I place it, we can go 36. All right, and then you're placing dimensions where they're readable. Try not to make it overly confusing, but in a way that you can go back and very quickly error check. So again, just watch how those are moving. Occasionally you will click and it will jump to horizontal, and I didn't want that, so I can either X out of it and Control Z will back me out of it, go back into the smart dimension, and that one is 5 on the width, and then we have 15 on this outside edge. Okay, so if for some reason this came up with an angular dimension, we know that we did not get perpendicular, we know we did not get parallel. All right, so I really like sketching this way. As a beginning second problem we're working on, maybe not my preference to jump into this right away. I'd like to have a few more sketching tools in place, but if you're coming from the 2D CAD background, then drawing this in and visualizing what these different geometries are doing should not be that big of a deal. All right, so let's go ahead and start some extrudes. So we're going to have to pick. This is not going to be a straight extrude. So I can escape and we'll go over to features. We don't have to close the sketch. We don't have to do anything except get back to the features, tell it that we want to extrude. So the longest section is going to be this, and notice that it automatically eliminates the slot. The geometry that we would need to pick if we wanted to close that in or make it a separate feature is I would have to include that in the selection for the selected contours. All right, but contours means contours and regions. You will see that information pop up in the box. All right, so this is going to go 28, and being conscious of the origin in that back corner, that is good. And then I want to activate that sketch again, make sure that it's selected since it automatically hides the sketch when we make the extrusion. I need to highlight that sketch again by selecting. I don't necessarily need to be inside of the sketch like I'm editing or making changes, but I do want it to be showing up on the screen. And then we're going to extrude again, and this time I'm going to pick the region in there, and we want to make sure that the box is checked merge result. There are reasons why we would want to uncheck that, but it's worth a quick glance to make sure that we've merged, or we are merging the result. So that one has a depth of 18, and then we tab and we hit OK. All right, so a little bit different strategy that we're building into this. My next sketch will go on this top face for the 2 cylinders, and the context pops up as sketch, but again, I lean towards pre-selecting and those context menus, but until you get used to all of this chaos going on the screen, let's stay a little bit with the command manager, and we'll work into those additional items. All right, so we need a circle, and we need another circle. So I'm doing the click drag and rough positions. I'm going to add the relations as I go here. So select, hold down the control button, select, and those are going to be vertical. The reason that I know it's vertical is I take a quick glance up here to my red origin, and the long leg tells me that I need to be vertical. The other thing as a visual clue is that the software will tell you, yeah, it's probably vertical. by bolding that selection and saying, hey, look at me. So we have those two. Let's do another select, control select, and we're looking for equal. All right, and the words and the tooltips, the more you use these, the more that they'll be accessible. All right, so equal shows up, and we can go ahead and select that. All right, so what's left is dimensions. If I can, I apply as many relations as I can get into the sketch as possible, and then I go back and start applying dimensions. So 6 as the typical. I guess I need to let that go. Place it. All right, so what happens if I set an equal and apply another dimension? Making the dimension driven says this one has priority, and this one will act as, hey, I'm showing you what the dimension is, but you can't really do anything with it. So if you get one of these because you added one too many relations or one too many dimensions, unless it is a dimension that you kind of want to see, just go ahead and cancel. All right, and then that's Smart Dimensions still active. And we're going to go from there to, still go with the perimeter, 7.5, so the halfway point. Other decisions that we might make is that I would find the midpoints and add some relation to the midpoints, or possibly a construction line. Different ways to approach. So 7 millimeters from each side, typical. So in this case, without doing something like a mirror, which we're not really leaning towards just yet, let's go ahead and place those. And then this is going to be an extrusion of 6 millimeters. So we're looking for the feature, going into the extrusion, typing in the 6 millimeters. Notice that this was highlighted in blue before I started typing, which means it's ready to go. It's in the correct box. It's a blind in condition, and it has the geometry. So at this point, we've completed. We're ready to look at the volume, see how well I did. So we go into the mass properties, and of course it shows up on the other screen. And 704 or 70,415 versus 70,039. All right, so close, but if I follow all the dimensions, it annoys me a little bit that those numbers have a 2 or 3 in this case 200 or 300 cubic millimeter difference in what I'm fairly certain that my design and following the dimensions is driving all of that geometry. So anyway, if you get the 70,415 and a center of mass roughly 48, 20, 13, we're on the same page, and I'm not going to worry too much at this stage. We want to make sure that we're saving these. So let's go ahead and save. This is going to be P1-2. From the old DOS days, I'm hesitant to use more than one point. Windows does a pretty good job now, but it's just if I wanted to use something in place of the point, either the dash or the underscore would be the better option. So we go ahead and hit save, and then we're ready to close this and go on to the next video.